So, another episode of the ShellBee Report. I'm Brian. Shalene is here, as you know. So this week we're going to talk about something we were looking to talk about last week, but we didn't get around to it. So we're going to discuss it this week because it's still in the news, and that's dealing with should student athletes be paid. And after the March Madness tournament came to an end last week, there was a lot of discussion about it. After the MVP of the tournament, Shabazz Napier from Connecticut Huskies, and for you UConn fans, hey, congratulations. But he mentioned in his post-game comments about, pretty much, let me read the quote here, the part he mentions, just so I have it straight. He says, Shabazz Napier says he goes to bed starving because he can't afford food. So it was a shocking comment considering at the time and place where he was for him to make that. Some say it could be a bit political as well too, but it's been something that's been brewing in the NCAAs for quite a bit of time. It seems to be coming to a head this year. Northwestern University has got some football players are trying to start a union now with Napier's comments. And just this afternoon, we found the NCAA is making some changes where they're going to be so kind and so benevolent that they're going to give students the opportunity to have pretty much unlimited meals. Wonderful. So, on that note, what are your thoughts about this, about student athletes? Should they get paid? Should they not? What's your thoughts about this whole thing? I mean, there's so many different ways it can go, but...
Well, I think if the school is making so much money on the athletes and their performance, I mean, the kids should get something, I don't want to call it a cut or anything like that. I don't want it to seem like young student athletes should be going to school to make money, but you have a young person here who has made, I don't know, thousands, millions of dollars for their university and is complaining about going to bed hungry at night, and that to me is just ridiculous. I mean, the school gets money from all the endorsements, from the TV rights, from selling their shirts and stuff in the school and their jerseys. Sorry, I'm not an athlete. But selling the clothing, their jerseys and all of that.
All the paraphernalia.
All the paraphernalia. And you would think that, these kids would be able to get something out of the deal, that they would not have to, go to the media and say, I'm starving at night. Like, that to me is ridiculous. So I don't know if unlimited meals is sufficient. I mean, with all the other expenses that they would have with practices and everything, I don't know if these kids are able to work to help support themselves. So like, what are they doing for clothes, for transportation, for all of that stuff? Would that be something that should be covered by the NCAA or by UConn or whoever?
Well, yeah, and I think this leads to I've heard some of the coaches, Coach Calipari, who's the coach of Kentucky Wildcats, who lost in the finals to Connecticut. He was on the radio last day or two, kind of talking about some of the things in this case that players don't get, that that even media gets more benefits on. For example, media guys get pretty much free. It seems like they're getting free tickets or discount passes to go to the tournament games. And you mentioned the point about the families. In this case, the families of the players don't have that opportunity. So there's not even like a couple tickets for your parents to go or your siblings to go and watch you. They got to pay out of pocket for that. You go back to the food situation, which is ridiculous when you're selling a jersey for $100 in the store, in the campus store. That it doesn't have Shabazz Napier's name on it, and this but it's still selling for $100 with his number on it, which it's him. And this goes back to a discussion that's been happening where Ed O'Bannon from UCLA. He had put together a group of people to sue the NCAA for pretty much using their images to sell video games. So there's another revenue stream in this case the NCAA gets. And since then, there's the fallout of that has been so dramatic because it looks like they may lose the case. I'm not sure where it is now in the courts, but when you're seeing your likeness and image on screen and you're not getting a cut of it, it's like, what the heck? So I mean, at this point now, it's so bad with the video games that they've cut back. They're not selling any college basketball video games. That might be due to sales as well too. But sure, they don't mind that, and even college football video games might be at stake in this case, where they might just not have them anymore because in this case, who knows how astronomical the payout might be the former students. And then you throw in the union aspect of it, which I think is what's kind of stirring up this thing even more. It has the NCAA probably even more scared, where I think in the next few months you're going to see a lot of things come down the pipe where they're going to try and make nice, because the last thing they want is college students becoming a union.
Well, I think that's that is the crux of it, right? Are these people who are playing these sports, these amateur sports, these students who are playing amateur sports, are they students or are they athletes? And if they are athletes, if that's what the school is looking at them like, because they're making money off of them, and all
considering
that.
how the graduation rates for some of these colleges are pretty abysmal, so
Right. So do they not deserve the protection of a union to ensure that no one should go without the basics? Like your mom having to pay out of pocket for, tickets to see your game might suck, but I think that that's less of an issue than like the basics of being able to have food, being able to look after yourself, and all of that.
I think one of the major things to me is that, for example, if a guy gets hurt, like last year, a gentleman from Louisville, I think everyone saw all over the videos that pretty much snapped his leg in half in this case here. He didn't play this year. He's transferring. I can't remember which school, but the fact is, he in this case, whatever, he might come out of the draft that year. If he comes out now, I doubt he'll be anything more than a second round pick if he's fortunate enough wherever he does come out. But the fact that when you're injured, there's no compensation for you when you get injured in this case. Your scholarship is pretty much can be pulled from you as well too. Right. Which is a pretty scary thing.
Which is not fair.
No, because in this case, you want these kids to stay in school.
This is a whole different conversation.
Well, that's a discussion we had here, but that's one of the reasons why we won't go down.
Yeah, I think that's really disgusting. That if a young person, a young man or woman, is to hurt themselves and pretty much like take away their ability to play whatever sport they're playing, and then the school takes away their scholarship. This is an academic institution. That your focus is supposed to be on academics. The sporting part, yes, plays a big role and is a priority, but it should not be the main priority, which should be academics. So if a person can no longer play, but yet can keep their grades up, their scholarship should not go anywhere. Exactly. They should still be able to go to school and get their degree in whatever and become productive members of society.
As far as I'm concerned, the NCAA has been the biggest pimps in sports. I lose no sleep for them.
A bit of a slave master thing going on there.
Well, it's been pretty ugly. So I mean, I'm losing no sleep for these guys. They've been making, writing checks and getting checks like no one's business for years. I mean, I think I heard a rumor they had signed a $7 billion deal for college football for the next few years. So like, I think I'm losing sleep for these guys.
They're making that much money. Honestly, they can give something to the athletes who are the reason why they're making this much money.
I mean, think about it. That's TV, which is probably the biggest revenue stream. We just talked about video games and stuff like that. We just talked about paraphernalia and jersey sales. Ticket sales from the actual game itself. Yeah. I mean, the amount of revenue streams that these guys have, and then in this case, you're giving guys grief in this case that they sign a couple of autographs for a jersey in this case here. You want to slap them, pull away his scholarships.
Yeah.
So they make $100. Really,
it really does sound like a whole slave and master relationship. Like the NCAA holds all the keys. They hold the reins to everything. And the student athlete is put out there to perform, and if you don't perform or you get injured, well, you get sold away and you're discarded. That's an issue that's a greater issue that I have that we'll have to discuss.
And exactly. And I'll just say on the last point here, the college coaches to me, I mean, you want to talk about some guys that are talking on both sides of their mouth. They have no problem the kids staying in school and it suits their benefit, as they're making those $3 million contracts with Nike or Adidas or whoever else is.
And getting their salary.
Right, exactly. But I also think no one's stepping up for this.
They're not starving and saying that they can't eat at night.
So, you know what? So that's our thoughts on it. We're going to have a few links below. You can check out some other resources, some other sites and articles about this. And check us out, on our YouTube page. And we'll see you again next week. Happy Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter.